Welcome to the very first lesson on the PMP course, 1.1 Projects. Before we start examining the PMBOK guide, we need to stop and consider some basic concepts to make sure that we are all on the same playing field. So in this first lesson, we will consider what is not a project and what is a project. So number one, what is not a project? Organisations need to do things every day in order to remain in business. These daily operations tend to be repetitive and really don't take much in the way of planning. Organisations usually have a mission statement which you should be able to find on their website, and often if you visit their office you'll find one in a frame hanging on the wall somewhere. A mission statement says why the organisation exists and what it does. For example, the Grey Campus mission statement is Grey Campus transforms careers through skills and certification training. We are a leading provider of training for working professionals in the areas of project management, big data, data science, service management and quality management. We offer live online, instructor-led online, classroom, instructor-led classroom, and e-learning online self-learning courses. Our growing suite of accredited courses is constantly upgraded to address the career enhancement goals of working professionals. And this is what Grey Campus does every day. We call this everyday work operations or business as usual, which is often abbreviated to BAU. If a student wants to start a new course, the Grey Campus staff follow a few step-by-step instructions. In fact, it's so simple and repetitive that almost all is totally automated. There's no need to involve senior management or a project manager or hold management meetings, develop a risk management plan for a student starting a new course, or anything out of the ordinary. So then clearly operations are not projects. Operations maintain the organisation's mission statement, or to say it another way, operations maintain the organisation's business as usual. 2. What is a project? To understand what a project is, we will consider Grey Campus again, working every day to maintain its business as usual. But then something happens that is out of the ordinary. For example, there could be a change to the country's tax laws, PMI might release a new edition of the PMBOK guide, and Grey Campus may want a new course developed for it, very like this one. They might decide to build a bricks and mortar college somewhere. They might decide to redesign their website or redesign their office IT systems, or get a new e-learning platform, or countless other circumstances that cannot be dealt with by business as usual, and that's key. And so one of the clues that these might be projects are each of these circumstances requires a significant change, but business as usual does not involve change. Now let's have a look at projects in more detail. The PMBOK guide defines projects as, and please note that many of these definitions are critical for the examination, and obviously project management, etc. are critical definitions. A project is a temporary endeavour undertaken to create a unique product, service or result. Let's examine this definition a piece at a time. A project is a temporary endeavour. The Oxford Dictionary defines temporary as lasting for only a limited period of time, not permanent. And so right away we can see the contrast with operational work. A project lasts for only a limited period of time, or to put it another way, a project is planned to have a start and an end date right from the beginning. Operational work also has a start, but at the start there's no specific end date planned, because in reality operational work will continue until it is no longer serving a useful purpose. It is possible for a very large project to last longer than some operations, but the key point is that the project is intended to be temporary and will terminate when the products, services or results that it was designed to deliver have been completed and accepted by the customer. Note that it says temporary endeavour, which means it is the endeavour, i.e. the project, is temporary rather than the product being temporary. Think of Australia's famous Sydney Harbour Bridge, for example. The project lasted 8 years, but the product has lasted 85 years so far. The second part of the definition is to create a unique product, service or result. The word unique is a little harder to explain. To be honest, I disagree with the definition a bit. I think it should actually be to uniquely create a product, service or result, because the product itself is not necessarily unique. It is the way the product is created that is unique, which means it is the project that is unique. But anyway, to create a unique product, service or result, as I said earlier, operations are not projects, but operations require a project to initially create them. And to confuse matters a little, some projects can be similar to operations for part of their life cycle. For example, suppose you're planning a project to lay a water pipeline to the Sahara Desert from the source of water in mountains in Mongolia 8,000 kilometers away. This is clearly a project, but for several years it would look very like a process as you lay one piece of pipe, next piece of pipe, next piece of pipe, and so on. However, the first key difference is that the pipeline would have a planned start and end date. And the second main difference would be that permissions would need to be sought from various governments. Different types of terrain would present different challenges, rocky ground, very soft ground and so on. And so it still requires risk management, quality management, schedule management, cost management, resource management, and so on. And it would of course require a project manager to control the project. How do we know when a project is finished? Now that's an interesting point, because some of the projects that I've been associated with seem to just go on forever and ever and never end. The end of the project is reached when at least one of the following statements about the project is true. And a list like this, it's a possible source for a question in the examination. So how do we know the project is ended? Okay, so at least one of the following is true. The project's objectives have been achieved. Number 2, the objectives will not or cannot be met. If we can't meet them, there's no point in keeping the project open, wasting time and resources. Close the project. Funding is exhausted or no longer available for allocation to the project. So basically, you've run out of money, you can't afford to finish it. The need for the project no longer exists. For example, the customer no longer wants the project completed, a change in strategy or priority ends a project, the organizational management provides direction to end the project. For example, you've been working for the last 120 years on the best steam engine ever, but management decides we don't think there's going to be a huge market in the future for steam engines. Let's just end this project. Next one is the human or physical resources are no longer available. Suppose you're doing a particular project and you have specific highly trained resources and they have quit the company. You've looked around, you can't find replacements in a reasonable length of time. You have no option but just to close the project. Or the project is terminated for legal cause or convenience. Your company may be wound up, or one of the contractees to your project may be taking legal action, etc. Fulfillment of project objectives may produce one or more of the following deliverables. A unique product that could be either a component of another item, an enhancement or correction to an item, or a new item in itself. For example, when you're developing a new aircraft, a project might be undertaken to deliver just the scope statement for the aircraft project. A unique service or capability to perform a service. For example, a project organisation may wish to develop a training department. A unique result, such as an outcome or document. Or, for example, a river flowing through a major city has reached an unacceptable level of pollution and a project is initiated to reduce the pollution by 80%. So that produces a unique result. A unique combination of one or more products, services or results, for example, a new training course, an examination and a related mentoring service. Repetitive elements may be present in some project deliverables and activities. As I mentioned before, a pipeline from Mongolia to the Sahara Desert. This repetition does not change the fundamental and unique characteristics of the project work. Another example would be office buildings can be constructed with the same or similar materials and maybe the same or different teams. However, each building remains unique in key characteristics. Example, location, design, environment, location. Sorry, I said location. That's what they always say for buildings anyway. So location, design, environment, situation and people involved. How many people are required for a project? There's actually no minimum or maximum number. A project can involve just one person or thousands of people. It can involve one group in an organisation or many groups or many organisations. It can exist within a single small location, such as, well, the initial projects for the Apple Corporation, which began in the garage of a house, or can span many countries, like modern Apple projects. As long as the endeavour is intended to be temporary in nature and will create at least one unique product, service or result, it is a project. The PMBOK guide lists examples of projects on page 5. Projects drive change. Processes just maintain business as usual. They support the mission of the company. But for the business to remain competitive, it has to occasionally change its operations. It might need to add new products or services, improve the efficiency of its current operations and so on. And so projects are required because changes cannot be performed under business as usual. In fact, project management has often been called the management of change. Projects enable business value creation. PMI defines business value as the net quantifiable benefit derived from a business endeavour. The benefit may be tangible, intangible or both. In business analysis, business value is considered the return in the form of elements such as time, money, goods or intangibles in return for something exchanged. Business value in projects refers to the benefit that the results of a specific project provides to its stakeholders. The benefit from projects may be tangible, intangible or both. Examples of tangible elements include monetary assets, stakeholder equity, utility, fixtures, tools and market share. Examples of intangible elements include goodwill, brand recognition, public benefit, trademarks, strategic alignment and reputation. Project initiation context. Organizational leaders initiate projects in response to 4 fundamental categories of factors acting upon their organizations. As you can see in figure 1.2, the 4 categories are meet regulatory, legal or social requirements, satisfy stakeholder requests or needs, implement or change business or technological strategies, and create, improve or fix products, processes or services. These factors influence an organization's ongoing operations and business strategy. Leaders respond to these factors in order to keep the organization viable. Projects provide the means for organizations to successfully make the changes necessary to deal with these factors. These factors ultimately should link to the strategic objectives of the organisation and the business value of each project. And finally, please study Table 1.1 on page 9 of the PMBOK guide. It would take much too long to discuss it here, and you'll find it's very easy to understand, and it shows how factors could be aligned with one or more of the fundamental factor categories. That brings us to the end of our first lesson, 1.1 projects. Please remember to learn the definition of a project for the exam. The next lesson is 1.2, the importance of project management. Please read the corresponding chapter of the PMBOK guide before watching the video.